Good morning, London. Good afternoon, Singapore. First of all, I want to ask, those that do not live in Singapore have ever heard of the Development Bank of Singapore? No cheating. Excellent. Anybody heard of Singtel? And we all know about Unilever because whether you like it or not, you use it every single day. Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, what I want to do today is, just for those that need a quick refresher on what these amazing companies do, is to ask our panelists to talk about their companies, talk about why they're doing innovation and what specifically they're doing in Singapore. But let me introduce the panel. We have Neil Cross. Now, Neil Cross is the Managing Director of Innovation at Development Bank of Singapore, but perhaps more interestingly, he also runs a charity hotel in Sumatra, which is very close to the orangutans, so that's fantastic. And not to be outdone, Edgar Hardless, who is the CEO of Innovate in Singapore. His wife has the best, he and his wife have the very best Szechuan restaurant in Singapore, which I might try later on. And Jeremy, well, he just makes stuff happen. He's just brilliant. Well, starting with you, Jeremy, a little bit about Unilever in a few words, please.
Sure. So, first of all, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here. And please do help yourself to an ice cream, but not for the next, half an hour. I head up a thing called the Unilever Foundry, which is our platform to connect and engage with startups. One of the things that we've realized is that startups are inventing the future. You see it here today, amazing displays from startups from around the world. They really are transforming every part of how we live, not just taxis and hotels, but literally every part of how we live. How we do marketing, how we engage with brands are the areas that we're particularly interested in. And so through the Foundry, we're connecting brands with startups. We've been doing this for the last 18 months, or just over. In the last 18 months, we've worked with 80 different companies around the world to pilot their technology with our brands. It's transforming not only the way that we do marketing, but also the business models around our brands. And it's also helping us achieve our sustainability ambition, because startups are coming to us with much more efficient, much more effective ways of doing things that we've always done. So it's ticking a lot of boxes for us.
So what's an example just of that story? Because we think of Unilever as this amazing machine that feeds the world and does all sort of things, but you're saying little tiny startups can provide innovation for you?
Right. So they are providing innovation for us. And it's anything from innovative marketing tech. So for instance, engaging with people on the feature phone. 60% of our turnover comes from developing and emerging markets. We're always looking for new ways to connect with people. And so Chef Wendy, which is powered by artificial intelligence, enables us to talk to millions of people simultaneously in a very cost-effective manner. We're also exploring other things, which are like the Airbnb or the Uber ofs for our categories. Startups are redefining how to interact with brands and how to interact with brands through those services. We could try and build it ourselves. We could also perhaps acquire companies that are doing that, but we find it's much better for everyone if we can work out a way to partner. And so it's through the Foundry that we're enabling those partnerships.
Great, thank you. Edgar, when I first met you, you said something that stayed with me forever, and that is, when you think about innovation in your business, innovation is slightly different in every country that you're involved in because of the solutions you need to create, the applications that are required. So it would be great just to talk about Innovate and Singtel in that context.
Sure. Thanks, Chris. First of all, great to be here. I'm actually originally from London, so it's nice to come back to the wet and cold weather that I don't get very much of in Singapore. Yes. So a little bit of Singtel Innovate. Singtel Innovate is the corporate venture arm and innovation arm of the Singtel Group. We have on the venture side a $250 million fund, which we've been deploying over the last 5 years. We effectively have two main roles. The first is to scout and invest in interesting technology companies and startups around the world. to that extent, we have actually established presence and offices in Silicon Valley, in San Francisco, in Tel Aviv, and also in Singapore. We have a global mandate, so actually, even if they're not from those three innovation ecosystems, we're still willing to explore and look for opportunities. On the other side, we also have our biz dev, business development team, and their job is to bring together the startups that we meet with the business units, introduce them, facilitate that engagement to actually hopefully create a successful engagement, be it a POC, a trial, or a commercial deployment. So we have a dedicated team to help the startups engage with the corporate business units. And we find that's a very important piece of the equation. I mean, it's easy enough to find startups, it's easy enough to invest in startups, but ultimately as a corporate VC, our job is to make sure that those startups and their technologies are ultimately embraced and used by the business units.
I mean, how many countries is Singtel in?
Singtel is in essentially 6 markets. I mean, we represent, the footprint of the Singtel group is, the latest count is just over 550 million mobile subscribers across India, Philippines, Thailand, Singapore, Australia, Indonesia, and through our partner in Airtel in India, about 15 other markets in Africa as well.
So that's a great example. I've just thought about this. Singtel being far greater than Singapore in terms of its reach and market pull.
Absolutely, and we don't, as Innovate, we actually look at supporting the whole group. So we look for innovation which is both applicable to the developed markets as well as the emerging markets. Because for us, helping any one of our affiliates or associates is just as important as helping us in our core markets of Singapore and Australia.
We've left the best to last. Maybe. Neil, you're Chief Innovation Officer of one of the most profitable banks in the world, and you're doing amazing things. And perhaps we'll just slightly change the order. Why are you doing all this innovation?
So yeah, we're highly profitable. We did 10 billion in revenue last year, 4 billion profit, so 40%. So we still know how to make money, unlike many European banks. And so we're actually doing it very differently. So our innovation group has invented exactly 0 things since I started there. Our job, I want to turn the whole bank into the innovation group. And so what we do, we actually set up accelerators, pre-accelerators, hackathons that don't just involve startups, we mix them up with bank staff of all levels. We took our top 250 execs and got them all to sell at fintech companies. Most of them failed, funnily enough, but a few of those are going in production. And so for us, disruption's happening, it's happening quicker than ever. You know, I don't know how it's going to play out with Google, Alibaba, and the fintech scene, but I do know that we need a culture of a tech company, and we need to be as nimble as a startup. So some simple facts, we ran 1,000 experiments this year. We trained 10% of the entire bank in design thinking, that's about 2,000 people. We've engaged 200 startups, we've accelerated about 80. We've run 15 hackathons across 6 countries. And so we're doing a huge amount of engagement, but you know, we're trying to develop the local ecosystems because we're not looking for products. That's not our primary purpose. We're really looking at engaging and developing fintech across Asia.
I mean, to be fair, Barclays is doing some quite exciting things here with Techstars and stuff like that, but you're doing a very different approach.
Yeah. For us, one thing is we don't take equity, and we don't partner with those that do take equity in our latest range of accelerators. And our latest accelerator, the hotspot, we've got a third of social enterprise. We've got people building bikes of bamboo, or I call it Panda Meals on Wheels. And we've got some fintech in there, we've got some digital in there. And so we're not just focused on, you know, getting either a product or a financial outcome. Our outcome is that we create the next range of entrepreneurs in the markets we work with.
And these entrepreneurs are coming from where?
Coming from all over, really. We're getting some fly-in from, obviously from the West. We got some from Japan, China, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore, Indonesia. We're doing a lot of work trying to develop the local Singaporean market. But for us, our return is the fact those execs and those thousands of people we put through working with startups is they go back to their day job, they think, right, I've got to start this new big project for the bank. I'm going to do it a bit differently. And so we get that return. So we're reinventing how we do product now to be more like a startup. We reinvent our design, reinventing finance, legal, HR, recruitment, and many different areas inside the bank. Our new training courses are hackathons. Our new compliance is gaming. You actually play a game to do your compliance journey. And so, hey, it's fun, put it that way.
Does anybody have a burning question right now?